Hello everybody, it's me, Program Cuber 17, and today we're going to be looking at the basic built-in data types in Python. Okay, so let's first look at the first data type, which is what we're going to be doing first is numbers. So in numbers, there are four parts in numbers, which is integer, float, complex, and Boolean. Okay, so let's first look at integers. So integers are pretty simple. So we just use a variable, let's just use x, and then we do equals, and then any whole number. So let's do 7, and press enter. And to know this is an integer, what we can do is we can do type, and then x in parentheses, and then press enter, and it'll say int for integer. So now if we look at float, it is anything. Floats are just numbers with variables. So like x equals 7.78 and press enter. Now if we do type x in parentheses, it'll say float because there's decimals after the 7. Now complex. So for complex is made out of a real and an imaginary number. So we use j for the imaginary number, but in math we use I, and I equals the square root of -1. But for Python we use j. So we can do x equals 7j. Press enter, and then we can do type x, and then it'll say complex. So now our last part in numbers would be Boolean. So Boolean numbers, you will get a true or a false back because it compares two numbers. So what we do for this, we do num for numbers equals, and then we have to put some type of thing in. That's like 20 is less than 50. Then press enter. Then if we type num and enter, you will get back your answer, which is true because 20 is less than 50. Now if we do num equals 20 is greater than 50, then press enter. Then we do num, it'll give you false because 20 isn't greater than 50. So next we're going to be looking at strings. Okay, so now we're going to look at strings. So first, strings are just anything inside double or single quotes. So let's look at those. So we can do x equals, and then in single quotes, hello, enter. That works. Then we can do print x, and you'll get hello. You can do the same thing with double quotes. You can do y equals, and then double quotes, hello, enter, and then you can do print y, and you would still get hello. But now we're going to see what happens if you mix those up. So now we're going to look at what happens. So z equals, and then we can do double single quotes, then hello, then a double quote, and then press enter. It will give you a syntax error because you can't mix single and double quotes. So now we're just going to make, because we have x already equals hello, we can look at, we're just going to type that over again really quick. X equals hello. And then now we're going to look at one more thing you can do with, a few more things we can do with strings. You can find the length of a string, how many letters are in the string. So length would be len, and then in parentheses, x. Press enter, and you would get 5 because there are 5 letters in the word hello. You can do a thing called index numbers too. And that means that there'll be a value for every letter starting from 0. Not from 1, but 0. So that means with H would equal 0, E would equal 1, the first L would equal 2, the second L would equal 3, and the 0 would equal 4. The letter O will equal 4. So that means that if we wanted to, we can do X, and then in brackets we can do any number. So if we do 0 in the brackets and press enter, it'll say what 0 is, which in this case is H. So now we can do this again. Let's just try for every single one. So X equals 1, that would be E, X, 2, L, and you would get L for X, 3 too, because there are 2 L's in hello. Then our last one would be X, and then 4. But there's only 4, but what if we use X5? We'll get a syntax error because there is no X5. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at lists. So in lists, the order can be changed, so it's kind of like strings because you can use index numbers in this too. So let's make a simple one. Let's make one called names. So names, and then we would do equals, then equals brackets, and then single quotes or double quotes, but you have to use the same for every single one. Bob, let's just put like 3 names in. Okay, so now we have 3 names in. Press enter, and then we can just do print names. Enter, and you'll get Bob, Bill, and Henry. So now let's try ones with numbers, words, and duplicates and stuff. So let's just make one called my list. My list equals, and then in brackets we can do 20, 30. Let's do 2 30s, 40, and a 45. Then comma, we can use one random word like edu for education. And then comma, and let's just put hello in single quotes again. End bracket, and then enter. Now we do print my list. And you'll get 20, 30, 30, 45, edu, and hello. This shows that lists can use that they'll work with words, numbers, and you can use duplicates of words or numbers in it. So you can use index numbers in these too. So now if we just do my list and then put a bracket, and then let's pick, this 20 would be 0, 30 would be 1, the second 30 would be 2, and so on. So let's just do my list and then 4. And then enter, and you'll get 45 because that is the 4th one starting from 0. And you can update your list. That means that you can change parts in your list without doing the whole thing over again. You can do say we wanted to change the second 30 to a different number because you don't want 2 30s. You can do my list, and the second 30 would be 2, so you do my list 2, and then equals 55. Enter. And then now if you say print my list, you will get the 30 changed into a 55. Now we're going to be looking at dictionary. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at dictionaries, and dictionaries don't have too much in them because you can't do duplicates and they're unordered. So now let's just do one. So let's just do fruit colors and then press equals, and then we want to use the curly brackets. And then one parentheses, and then let's just do an apple is, and then what is an apple is red. So what we would do, red right here, red. And then we would do comma, and let's do one more for orange. Orange is, and then so we do colon is, and then we would do, and orange is orange, so we would do orange. And then end curly brackets, and then press enter. Now we can do print fruit colors. Print fruit colors. And we'll get apples red, oranges orange. So we can take parts, so you can update your thing too by saying you can like add more onto it if you wanted to, or you can change something else. Like say you said apples orange accidentally. You can go back in without typing the whole thing. You can put it back in and saying apple is red. So you can take parts out. You can do index numbers in dictionary too. Okay, so now we're gonna be looking at tuples. So tuples are ordered and they can't be changed, and you can duplicate entries. So now let's use a example. So tuples are kind of like strings, but there is one. They're kind of like strings and lists, more like strings lists, because they both hold pieces of text, pieces of information in them. But tuples are a little bit faster because tuples can't hold as much information as lists. And you use parentheses instead of brackets for tuples. So let's just try one. Animals. We're going to use numbers and animals too. And we're going to be using a duplicate too. So equals, and then use a parentheses. And you can do 10. Let's use another 10. And then a 20. Then tiger. And then let's do one more tiger. And then a lion. And parentheses. And then you would press enter. And so now that worked, you can do one more thing. Let's not print it. Let's use an animals dot count thing. What this means is because your variable name is animals, you can do animals dot, and then you can do count. And then in parentheses, you can put the count amount of the word tiger in the tuple before this. And press enter, and it will say 2 because there are 2 tiger in the tuple in the top. Okay, so now we'll be looking at our last data type, which is sets. Sets are just like lists, but because you use brackets, but you can't use duplicates, and there are no index numbers. So if you accidentally do use a duplicate and you print your variable, you will not have any duplicates in your final product because you have to use set equals. So that's all for this video, and I'll meet you guys in the next video.